Haven't we used this song before? Yes, we have. Can't put nothing past you, Fright Clubbers. Second time we've used that song, but there is a good reason for that.
It is the second annual Skeletons in the Closet Oscars edition.
That's right. We're going back to the beginning of some of this year's big Oscar hopefuls. Well, maybe not back to the very beginning, but back far enough that they were starring in some bad or kind of bad horror movies. Are these all bad?
Yes, they're bad.
All right. All bad, all bad horror movies. Welcome. This is the Fright Club podcast.
I'm Hope Madden.
And I'm George Wolf, and we are from madwolf.com. And this was fun last year, digging into the skeletons in the closet of these nominees who have gone on to bigger and much better things. And we'll talk a little bit about the nominees this year, because I know there's been some hubbub, and we won't get into that about this year's nominees, but the ones that did make the final list we'll talk about. And last week, of course, it was the Lady Vampires, as we did it live with a great crowd, I thought.
The Gateway Film Center, it was fun. It's a gorgeous movie to see on screen. I'm just glad so many people came out to watch it with us on a big screen.
Had a good time with that, and also we had a couple good comments, some good feedback.
Yeah, one is from our good friend Tom Howard, and he had mentioned prior to the broadcast, and he brought up again, he wanted to see Dracula's Daughter, and we should have at least talked about it, because it's one of those really early, 30s, 40s, really early with it's black and white with the sort of weird hypnotic lighting across her eyes. This is the kind of movie where a character will say, "Look into my eyes. What do you see?" It is really fun. It's a fun one.
And we also had a comment from a new listener in Florida, Corey. First of all, welcome. Glad you're checking it out down there in the warmer temperatures. But also a really interesting comment and a good comment.
Yeah, a good one. And it's kind of a hard one for us to address directly because...
Well, we're going to give away a little spoiler, I guess, about Let the Right One In. So we have talked about this movie a lot. With good reason, and also Let Me In. In fact, we clumped them in together as one in last week's countdown for a few reasons, but and one of them kind of has to do with what Corey brought up. But he says he kind of took issue with Let the Right One In being included on the female vampires because, here comes the spoiler, turn it off if you don't want to know about this. The more you know about Let the Right One In, especially if you've read the book. Really, reading the book is the only way to get this entire background on Eli, the Eli character. But she is actually a boy. Well,
so in the film, she's just nothing. And they do show her naked.
Yeah, but
But the thing is, a film has to stand entirely on its own. It can't be part of a book.
That is right.
And in the book, they explain that she had been a boy and she was castrated
by the prince who made her a vampire.
Right,
I think.
But in the film they do show that she is in fact she's not female, she's not male either in the film.
Right.
So technically speaking, you are absolutely correct.
Yeah, so it's a very good point. But like you said, the film has to stand on its own, and you don't get that whole backstory unless you read the book. And also, we didn't want to not include this.
Right. We knew if we didn't include it, somebody would complain, which rightly so. I mean, it's a great, and so anyway.
Yeah,
so we kind of lumped the two of them together.
But it's a very good point,
It is
Corey.
a very good point.
And thank you for bringing it up. And thank you for listening. Hope you'll continue to. And chime in on the feedback, because that's a really good point from somebody that's paying attention. But Corey actually, he agrees with us that he loves both those films. So that's why we lumped them together. So again, thank you for all the great feedback. A lot of fun. The next Fright Club live event is coming up on February the 10th. And just in time for Valentine's Day, one of Hope's all-time favorites.
Loved Ones! It's the Loved Ones, everybody! Oh my God, I'm so excited to watch this again on the big screen. With that pink dress just coming closer and closer and closer to the car.
Yeah, and as we said last week, if we had hit the Powerball, we would have flown Robin McKelvey in.
Yes, absolutely.
We didn't hit the Powerball.
Well, actually, let me tell you the truth. So today, when we go home today, I have to watch a film. It's a horror film that she also stars in. And so you can look for the review on screenrelish.com sometime next week.
Okay, nice. So we're getting some of that love in there too. But yeah, February 10th for the Loved Ones, and our countdown is going to be...
Prom. High school dance. The high school dance
and the prom. Some fertile ground there.
Yeah.
And you can probably guess right away a couple of them, including the Loved Ones. But there's more. Mm-hmm. There's more to talk about. All right, but this week it's Skeletons in the Closet, second annual, which means we've been doing this for over a year now.
Well, last week was our 52nd episode.
Well, because we took 1 week off. Remember,
we did,
were in
our
vacation.
Our Fright Club fans covered for us.
Yeah, but did that count as one of our episodes, though?
Well, it didn't do a podcast, but they did a blog.
Yeah.
A lovely blog. It was wonderful.
It was great. Thanks again for that.
We enjoyed it from our drunken hammock in the Keys.
So, hey, so thank you for all the support this whole year, and we'll just keep it rocking. Hard to believe it has been a year, but it has. We got the Oscar nominations again, and that means Skeletons in the Closet, Oscar edition. Anything we want to run over before we get into the countdown?
Why don't we hit number 5 and then we'll pause and talk about, because here's the thing. This is my favorite thing about the Oscars. We can, no matter what occurs, we could do one of these every year at the Oscars because they all have these exact skeletons in their closet. So I want to take a quick, after we get into the first one, number 5, I want to just talk about everybody who didn't make the list, who was also in terrible and sometimes decent horror movies.
Did I just hear you say, no matter what occurs?
That's right.
Stay alive.
And we should point out, so these go in descending order. So number 5 is the least bad. Number 1 is absolutely, without question, the most bad.
All right, this one has a big, already an Oscar winner and an Oscar nominee this year for Joy, a film which I liked. You didn't like that much.
No, I didn't care for it.
But I did, and that is J. Law, Jennifer Lawrence from 2012, House at the End of the Street.
You know, that house is the reason why we can even afford to rent this house.
What exactly happened again?
The daughter of Carrie Ann killed both her parents.
What happened to Carrie Ann?
She drowned in the dam.
But the rumor is, you can see her in the woods.
Now, the funny thing is, if you haven't seen this movie and you just watch the trailer, it seems like it might be pretty good.
It's stronger than the other films on this list, as I mentioned, because we put it at number 5. And we could have brought it up last year because she was nominated last year, because she's nominated every year because she's very, very talented.
Very.
But there were some epic catastrophes on last year's, because we had Clooney. He's got 4. So anyway, but it did make the cut this year, and it's. You know, it's one of those, a girl and her single mom moved to a rural spot, and, but the house next door, there was a slaughter, and the girl who allegedly killed her parents disappeared and could possibly be lurking around in the forest, but, her damaged but beautiful brother still lives in the house. You know, I mean, it's really, do you think that the brother is A-okay, or do you think that far-off look in his eyes suggests something?
And the mom is Elizabeth Shue.
Yeah, who actually looks like she could be Jennifer Lawrence's mom, I think. Yeah. And Jennifer Lawrence is better than she ought to be in this movie, and really that's what saves it. The rest of the performances are weak to poor, and I'll tell you what, there are some tense moments when you discover what's going on in the basement. But I'm not positive I pronounce the guy's name, Max Thiero. He's just weak. He's weak in everything. He's just got that just dreamy stare, and he just doesn't really perform beyond that.
Well, the producers nabbed her for this part after seeing her in Winter's Bone, which is a smart move, because if you haven't seen Winter's Bone, that's the first time I really knew about her. She had been on, I guess, the Bill Engvall show.
Yeah, I think
Can you imagine that?
She was in The Beaver.
But when we first saw her in Winter's Bone, we're like, holy crap.
And here's the thing,
Who
right?
is this?
She has made some great films, like some really great films, and she has had some great performances. For me, Winter's Bone is the best of her films and the best of her performances.
She's so good. But she's one of those, and I know she's finally, it took a while, but I think there's finally starting to be some J-Law backlash, is that people don't like her so much anymore, which is inevitable when you get as big as she did so quickly. But she is just great. She's so good. Even in bad movies, she's
like
good.
This one.
Like this one. And this one was actually pushed back. It came out. It was sandwiched between Hunger Games, the first Hunger Games, and Silver Linings Playbook, which was
so these guys, they realized, they hit the jackpot with this. So they sat on it for about a year, and it came out in 2012 alongside her other 2 big giant Here I Am films. And it didn't make any money because it just wasn't any good. Yeah. She plays sort of the badass high school girl who, as soon as her mom tells her, you leave that boy alone, you're just seeing her eyes. Oh, yeah? So, but she's great in it. It's a bad movie. It's pretty predictable. There are a couple of grim twists that make it almost worthwhile, but it's not good.
The funny thing is, though, it was filmed. It was shot in this 2-part Technoscope format. It gives it a grainy image to look like an older horror film, and also to save money. But if you follow it all the way to the end of the credits, it still says filmed in Panavision on it.
Lies.
So that is number 5. the best of this lot.
Yes.
Skeletons in the Closet, Oscar edition, 2012, House at the End of the Street, J-Law. And she's nominated for Best Actress, so we don't think she's going to win.
No.
Well, probably not, no. So who's the favorite in this category, do we think, this year?
That's a good question, because I can't imagine that it's Cate Blanchett again.
I would say Cate Blanchett for me, but she just won, so she's probably not going to win. It's probably going to be Brie Larson.
Yeah, I actually think, and that's who I would give it to. I think Brie Larson's performance was just astonishing. In Room, if you haven't seen Room, you really need to.
Does Brie have a skeleton in the closet?
She doesn't. No, she doesn't. She's very, she's young, she's new, she hasn't made that many films.
Okay.
But for those of you who like The Woman and haven't seen Room, you should see Room.
Oh, yes.
Because there's a character in Room who
you'll recognize.
And you'll think to yourself, stay away from this guy's shed. Anyway.
Yeah, you should see Room anyway.
See Room. It's a brilliant, magnificent film.
All right, moving up to...
No, we want to take a second and talk about all the ones.
Sorry.
So I just want to run down really quickly all of the nominees that have... so there are some Oscar nominees with really good horror in their backgrounds. Drew Goddard wrote Cabin in the Woods and directed it. Michael Fassbender made Eden Lake one of our all-time favorites.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, Christian Bale, American Psycho.
Woo!
Everyone loves that movie, and if you don't, you should ask yourself what's wrong with you. And then we've got some mediocre to fair films.
Let's see Paul Allen's card.
Eddie Redmayne made Black Death, which is an adequate film. He's great in it. Saoirse Ronan.
You know what else he made, which is horrific, is Jupiter Ascending.
That's right. It's
Sorry.
not a horror movie, but
just
it's
had
terrible.
to get that in there. My God, was that bad.
That's the one that came out immediately after he won the Oscar. You're just like, oh, but, he bounced back pretty well. He's nominated again. Saoirse Ronan was in Byzantium, which is pretty good. Neil Jordan, Gemma Arterton. It's a vampire movie. Neil Jordan likes the vampire movies, and it's pretty decent. Kate Blanchett in The Gift, Jennifer Jason Leigh in Sing a White Female. Tom Hardy made a mediocre one. It's like W.A.Z., and it was also released in the United States as The Killing Gene. It's not good. It's not bad. It's mostly Stellan Skarsgård film, but still, it's adequate. But then we're going to move on to the other really bad ones that, for one reason or another, didn't make the cut. Mark Ruffalo.
Well, he made the cut last year.
That's why. We couldn't do The Dentist 2 years running, but it is really bad.
But, that's another one where his scene, his one big main scene, you just kind of stand and go, hey, that guy can act.
It's true. It stands out, and he looks ridiculous. He's got, like, this pink sweater tied around his shoulders. He looks utterly ridiculous, and it's such a throwaway part. But as soon as he's on screen, you're like, wow, acting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, when Meryl Streep wanders into the set of a Mexican soap opera. Right. You're like, hey, wait, who was that? But we used him last year, so we can't go back to that.
Now, another one we really came close to using, Rooney Mara in Urban Legend, Bloody Mary. God, that's a bad movie.
But she has a tiny...
She's got a cameo. Kate Mara is the star. Her sister is the star, and she's got this little tiny cameo, and so we couldn't do that. Alicia Vikander... She's in Seventh Son. It's just not really old enough to conclude just yet, but God, it's bad.
Is that the one with Julianne Moore?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh, Jesus,
what
it's
was
awful.
She doing? Okay.
And then just filling out, Tom Hardy is just going to be our George Clooney this year. Tom Hardy, because he's got movies in every imaginable. He makes like 9 movies a year, so it's bound to happen. But he was in a really bad one called LD50, Lethal Dose 50. And it starts off, it's like, it's sort of like 28 Days Later, they're breaking into the lab, they're freeing the animals. But it turns into like an Altered States kind of a thing. It goes nowhere. It's absolutely terrible.
All right.
So that's everybody that didn't get covered today.
Make the list. All right, but did. We've done number 5. Let's go to number 4. 2009, our old friend Michael Fassbender did Blood Creek.
When you rule the blood, death is no longer the end.
We had him contained until he came here. We're all going to pay for this now.
Just tell me how to kill him.
Once his third eye is released, we'll cross over. Nothing will be able to contain him, not even the runes.
Blood Creek.
There are those who will say real horror fans know that Blood Creek is a good movie. Those people are just wrong. They are just dead wrong. Because Joel Schumacher directed it, and he should know what he's doing, right? And he's got a great cast, right? Henry Cavill, Michael Fassbender, and, a bunch of other people who suck. But it should have been, and it's just, the storyline is ludicrous. The performances are heinous, except for the two. Henry Cavill is quite decent, and Michael Fassbender is so committed to this performance that you are embarrassed for him. You just keep wondering, do you know how bad this movie is?
Well, I don't know. Does Joel Schumacher have that great of a resume. I think of
no, they're
I
mostly
kind of think of Hack when I think of him.
They're mostly bad. Of course, Lost Boys.
Well, okay. But anyway.
No, I'm with you.
How about Flatliners? Can we go there?
That's actually one of his better movies because he made Batman and Robin. He made 8mm.
Well,
he makes bad films.
Well, here's the thing. You bring up 8mm. He actually got in quite a falling out with the writer of this movie because all the changes that Schumacher wanted to make on the script, which is the same thing that happened on 8mm. And Schumacher won, and he rewrote a lot of the script by himself.
Which might happen to have something to do with why the script doesn't make any damn sense whatsoever. So just a quick recap. Here's what happens. Back in the day, the Nazis were looking for Viking rune stones that would give them eternal life. And so they went to like West Virginia. Michael Fassbender, a Nazi scientist, went to West Virginia where he found one. And it gave him the power of eternal life, but he had to drink human blood. And so the farmers where he lived, they used the rune stone to cause sort of a big spell so that he couldn't leave the property, and nobody aged, but for them to keep the spell, they had to supply him with human blood. So they would just nab campers. One of the campers is Dominic Purcell, which just says to me they must have a great weight room on this farm. So this guy, he's Henry Cavill's brother, who's been disappeared for 2 years. Everybody believes him dead. And he comes back to the farm. He's been held captive, a blood sacrifice, for 2 years. And he shows up. He's got like neck muscles, like as wide as the back of a car. I just like, I'm like, wow, that's
a lot of push-ups.
Plus, he cannot act at all, period. So the whole time I'm like, I don't understand what on earth possessed them to make this be the guy. I don't get it.
That's the guy. This is the guy. Blood Creek, 2009. You know what? And you brought that up at the beginning. I don't like anytime you start talking about movies, especially horror movies, and somebody says, well, if you were a real horror fan, you know what? Don't do that.
Just
don't do it.
No.
Because when you weren't saying that, you were just making fun of people that do say that. Yeah,
yes.
let's not go there.
No.
But if you like this movie, I'm not going to say you're not a real horror fan, but it's not good. 2009, Blood Creek. And number 3 on our list makes sense because from 1991, it is Critters 3.
The Critters are back. They've just rolled into the big city.
Oh, safe at home.
In search of new neighbors.
They're aliens.
You don't have a gun up here or anything like that.
How about a meat cleaver?
What is eating him?
Critters 3. You are what they eat.
Open wide.
This one might be best known, at least now, because it's Leonardo DiCaprio's feature film debut, and he is the skeleton in this closet.
Yeah, he's super adorable, and he's got a Dayglow sort of paint spatter shirt on. The whole thing actually seems, when you watch it, it screams 1988. You would never think it was a 90s film, because the other girl, the lead girl, she's got scrunchies in her hair, and she's got the big bangs, everything. But the Critters, who in the previous 2 installments mostly stuck to isolated farmhouses, they've moved to the big city, and they've taken over a high-rise apartment building, sort of a slum. And Leonardo DiCaprio's got some issues with his dad, and in a very tender scene, his dad dies, and he tries to save him. But on the whole, it's the second Critters sequel. I mean, there's just not a single reason to watch this film except to see Cutie Pie Leonardo DiCaprio, who actually quits himself relatively well, given the fact that it's a terrible film that he's in.
And there's that picture that has made the rounds on the internet of him sticking his fingers in the prop, whatever they used for the critter, which is funny. You can find that
the other thing that's funny
times.
Is that I think his character he plays is supposed to be, I think, 12 years old. And he looks all of 12 years old, but he was actually 17 or 18 when he made the movie because he looks young.
Yeah, he had been on Growing Pains, the TV show.
Sure.
And a few other things, but this is his first actual feature film debut. And the funny thing is, it was shot back-to-back with Critters 4.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, they shot him at the same time because some of the threads were the same in the characters, although not his.
No,
he
was
not
back now.
Because he didn't have, this was not a lead type of role.
It's a fairly meaty role, but the lead is a girl who went on to do nothing except Critters 4.
And DiCaprio this year is probably the front runner to get his first Oscar. He's nominated for The Revenant, which is a fantastic movie, and he is great in it. And I would say that he'd be the front runner right now. What do you think?
I absolutely do think so. So Fassbender from the last film, he's also nominated for Best Actor, but I definitely think that DiCaprio has the edge over Fassbender and basically everybody else in the category.
Yeah, Fassbender is nominated. Yeah, we didn't talk about that when we talked about Blood Creek. Well, because it feeds into the same category. Fassbender is nominated for Steve Jobs, who was just fantastic because he's always good. He's always good.
Absolutely
now,
always.
I liked the movie Steve Jobs better than you did.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. And it was one of my favorites of the year, but it was nobody saw it.
No.
Nobody. Talk about being greeted with a yawn.
Yeah.
Nobody saw it, but Steve Jobs, as Steve Jobs, Fassbender's great. Seth Rogen is pretty good as Steve Wozniak. Kate Winslet is also nominated.
She's nominated.
She's been getting some wins.
She has been,
Although I wouldn't have her Best Supporting Actress. I would not.
I mean, on the whole, I think Kate Winslet is an absolute genius. I think she's a magnificent performer. I didn't particularly care for this role for her, and mainly her accent just comes and goes.
It does
and
kind
it
of come
throws
and
me
go.
a little bit.
Yeah.
But there are some actors that you just expect more from, and she's one of them. Because honestly, I think she's one of the most talented people working today.
She is. So Fassbender and DiCaprio are both up for Best Actor, but we think finally, after many tries, DiCaprio is probably going to get his.
And I think
Best
you're
Actor.
the one who brought this up. Some people are saying that this is going to be his sort of Lifetime Achievement Award or something like that. And first of all, he's only 45, so it's much too young for a Lifetime Achievement Award.
That
and
old?
second, he is that old. He is.
Wow.
The other thing, though, is that he just deserves to win.
He does.
This is the best performance and in the category, and he's magnificent in this film.
He's great, and it's such a great movie.
If you haven't seen The Revenant, go see it now while it's still in theaters, because it is so. It's epic to look at.
It's really one that you want to see on the big screen. You really, really do. Before you wait for it to be on Netflix or whatever, you've got to get the whole experience. It's so well directed. It won't win Best Director because Inuitu won last year for Birdman. But so good. So yeah, see it while it's in theaters if you can. And that is number 3 with Leonardo from 1991, Critters 3. And now we're getting into the bad good, the good bad. The top 2 in our Skeletons in the Closet second annual Oscar edition, and from number 2, from 2006, it's number 2, starring, we've talked about him before, and we love him, Tom Hardy. This is Minotaur.
Let us see the mouth of hell. Open the gates. I'm going to show you true fear.
How could a man kill that?
Why are you here? I know the way out. If the Minotaur is a god, he would kill us all. But if he isn't a god,
Then he will burn.
Here's how I know George hasn't seen this movie, because I think it opens with a voiceover that says, "In the time of dragons."
Click.
Yeah, this is not something that George want to sit through, because not only is it quite terrible.
The trailer alone.
Yeah.
Oh my.
But it's one of those, medieval times kind of things, and it's awful. It's just awful. But I give Tom Hardy credit. I think to myself, if I'm a young, struggling actor and somebody offers me a script and Rutger Hauer and Tony Todd are both, I would say yes.
Yeah, okay,
I would say yes. I mean, it's a terrible movie, and Rutger Hauer and Tony Todd both make a lot of terrible movies. Hauer plays Tom Hardy's dad. Tom Hardy is Theo, and the dad is the chief of this little village, and the prince, which is played by Tony Todd, he requires blood sacrifice for the Minotaur that lives under his castle. So he comes every year and he collects youngsters from Rutger Hauer's village, and he never lets them take his son. But they took his son's girlfriend last year, and so he swaps out for somebody this year because he's going to go save her. And right there you're going, so she's been a year in a dungeon with a Minotaur, and you think she's still okay? I mean, who is she, MacGyver? But that's all right. He gets to the castle. Tony Todd's, he'll be Candyman for me forever, but I think Deucalion is his actual character's name.
Candyman.
His sister is hot for Theo, but...
Is that by Van Halen?
But Tony Todd is hot for his sister, so things get a little unseemly. But Theo goes down, battles this giant, heinous puppet.
I know, and you can tell that even in the trailer.
Oh my God!
Oh man,
it's so bad.
On par with Critters 3.
Yeah.
Here's and you may have noticed this in many of the scenes, especially when the two are climbing up the wall, you can clearly see the steel wire.
Oh, yeah. It's such a movie that you're watching thinking, did they make this for Sci-Fi Network? I think they did. And today they'd have made much better movies for Sci-Fi. But I'm thinking about, like Tuesday afternoon Sci-Fi. That's basically the caliber film we're talking about.
Oh, good stuff. And Tom Hardy is nominated for Best Supporting Actor this year for The Revenant. And he's great as well. But he's also, he had another great year, because one of our favorite movies this year is Mad Max Fury Road. And I'm trusting you've seen that, because if you haven't, come on. That's another one that you really have to see on the big screen. I'm hoping it's maybe making the rounds again.
Yeah.
Because if you missed it on the big screen, it's just glorious.
That's really true.
I'm really
Truth be told, we are, both of us, rooting for George Miller to win Best Director for that film.
Yeah, because we've seen it a couple of times here recently, because it's on HBO now. And just having it on, flipping channels, reminds me, oh, man, that looks awesome.
Yeah.
And it's so well directed.
Oh, my God, it is.
But Tom Hardy is up for Best Supporting Actor for The Revenant. Not that he doesn't deserve it. He does.
He absolutely does.
But,
we were worried he wouldn't get that. Because supporting actor was madness this year. And the people that got left off is enough to make me want to cry. Right? Benicio del Toro.
Here's the thing. We had a bet from months ago. We had a bet as soon as Creed came out. I said, Stallone is going to get nominated for Creed for Best Supporting Actor. And I'm not saying he was not good. I'm not saying that. He was good. He was as good as he's ever been. But the fact is, this category is too stacked. And he did get nominated, but
Oscar Isaac should have gotten nominated.
Oscar Isaac didn't get nominated.
Benicio del Toro should have been nominated. Josh Brolin.
Josh Brolin. I would even go the guy, and I forget his name, I'm sorry, the guy that played Eazy-E in Straight Outta Compton.
Or the singer in Tangerine.
Yeah.
There are so many people. There are so many people that should have had that spot.
But here's the thing. Now, see, I said he was going to get nominated. Now, I think he's going to win. Might win.
I know, man. And you know what? My head will just explode off my shoulders.
Now, that one, you talked about a Career Achievement Award for DiCaprio. If Stallone wins, that's what this will be.
Right, but who wants to give him a Career Achievement Award for that career? He's made 2 decent movies in his life.
I'm just saying that's what goes on. But here's the thing, though. There's been a few times where people have thought, I remember going back to Lauren Bacall was supposed to get one. Burt Reynolds was supposed to get one as career achievement, and they were being so. It's not a done deal. Although right now I wouldn't bet against it. To tell you the truth.
But I'm rooting for Tom Hardy. You?
Yeah, I'm rooting for Tom Hardy. And again, I'm not saying Stallone wasn't good. He was, but he wasn't good enough, is what we're saying. So anyway, that's we got off on a tangent there. But that's number 2, Minotaur 2006, Tom Hardy. And number 1, I'll tell you what, I haven't seen this one in its entirety either, but I was watching part of it with you the other night, and holy moly, it is bad. And it is from 1991, and it's called Dead Space.
Where'd you say that distress call was coming from?
From a research lab on the planet Phaebon.
You telling me this is a false alarm? It is not a monster.
What the hell do you call it?
I think it's time I took a look at your monster.
He's a fool if he thinks he can stop it.
Mark Singer in Dead Space.
So I think, like a lot of you, I like bad horror movies, right? I mean, I enjoy them. You just sort of unplug your brain and you watch it, and it's fine, and I enjoy them. And this movie is so bad, I had to turn it off. It took me 3 times to make my way all the way through this movie. It is atrocious.
Okay.
It is.
Well, then let me hip you to 2 things that will not surprise you at all. Number 1, the movie was shot in 17 days. Number 2, the director didn't see the script until the first day of shooting.
Oh, well, that does explain a lot.
Well, and the skeleton in this closet is Mr. Bryan Cranston.
Oscar nominee. First-time Oscar nominee.
For Trumbo.
Right, and he's very good.
He's very, very good, playing a real-life character. And it's a very interesting story. We are not blown away by the movie.
No.
It's got some big... we just think the tone wasn't right, but it's still pretty good. And his performance is very, very good. He's just a great actor, of course.
Is.
He came to real prominence with
Breaking
Bad, but he's had a long career, and this is one of those movies, if you're flipping channels or whatever, you go, hey, is that Bryan Cranston?
Oh, yeah. So he plays a scientist, and he and several other scientists, mostly, if they're lucky, from soap operas, are on a planet far from Earth so that they can experiment freely, and they've created a mutant that's going to take shape and kill people, and for no reason I can think of, Bryan Singer lands on the planet with his cyborg friend, his robot, like basically Lost in Space almost era robot sidekick Tin Pan. and all of a sudden, all of these PhDs on this planet, they're like, yes, whatever you say, guy who just showed up for no reason. And it's the most ridiculous. And there is a woman in this film. She plays a doctor. The actress's name is Laura May Tate. It is maybe the worst acting performance I have ever seen.
Ooh.
I know, ever.
Hey,
ever.
That's big talk.
Because I watch a lot of bad movies. I've seen many bad performances.
Many of them.
It's worse than the girl who plays Channing Tatum's girlfriend in the first Magic Mike. It's way worse.
Now you're just blaspheming in here. Because that girl makes PJ Souls look like Cate Blanchett.
Oh, enough with the PJ Souls.
Had to work it in.
Yeah.
But, it's awful, awful, awful.
Oh, my God. Yeah, and Cranston, you know what? You got to give him credit. As bad as everything in this movie is, you can see him trying. He's trying to generate chemistry with Judith Chapman, who's the other scientist that he plays off the most. And he's trying to be conflicted because they just want to blow up this lab, and he's trying to find the cure for a disease that is running rampant on Earth that obviously he has. So he's trying to build layers into this. But you're just going, you got to let it go, Bri. Just got to let it go.
Bri. All right, so let's find out the reach that we have here. Let's try to get the word out because they're going to do so much press between now and the Oscars. Somebody put a microphone in Bryan Cranston's face and ask him about Dead Space. Don't you want to see it?
Yes, I totally do. Oh, my God.
And he'll be like,
oh, my God.
What are you asking me?
He makes so many movies and does so many TV shows, he probably don't even remember he did it. He's probably blocked it out.
Yeah.
Was I in that?
Let's make it a movement. Ask Bryan Cranston about Dead Space. So, 1991, that is number one, and Bryan is up for Best Actor.
Yes.
Probably not going to win.
No.
Again, we think that DiCaprio is going to win, but he is really good. And if you like those types of movies, not a great movie, but it's a nice period piece, and it really tells an interesting story about a guy that not a lot of people know about, although you will know his movies.
Yeah,
the guy that Cranston plays was a writer. A longtime writer that was blacklisted through the communist witch hunt. And he ended up, he wrote a lot of movies, including Spartacus, that he didn't get credit for at the time. So it's an interesting story.
Actually, Helen Mirren, I was kind of hoping we get nominated for Best Supporting Actress. She was just the highlight of that movie. She was just magnificent, as is generally the case.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to grow up to be Helen Mirren. That's who I want to be when I grow up.
She plays Hedda Hopper. Who doesn't come off well in the movie. So check that out if you want to. But it is number one, Dead Space, and our skeletons.
And you know what? If you have an
closet.
interest, right?
Yeah.
It's free on YouTube. For the love of God, don't spend money on this movie. You can just find it on YouTube for free.
Okay. All right, that's a public service announcement that we wanted to pass along. Skeletons in the Closet Oscar edition, and that makes us look forward to next week. We're going to delve into a controversial topic in horror and in movies in general, found footage.
Yes. So I've got 3 more I need to watch before I make the final countdown, and I think
I didn't have that song ready. Dang it.
And I think that I might be among the most persnickety when it comes to found footage. So we're going to see what makes this list. Even I'm confused by it.
So many of them are bad. So that's next week. Also, we need to know if you have an idea for found footage, please let us know. Again, Twitter is an easy way to do it at Mad Wolf, MADDWOLF, Mad Wolf Columbus on Facebook. So if you have some recommendations there, but also we want to know what's the next country. We've done a few countdowns for the best horror of a certain country. What's the next country?
Yeah, so we've done Australia, we've done England,
New Zealand.
We did New Zealand. There's a lot we haven't done. We haven't done Korea, we haven't done Japan.
Good stuff.
We haven't done Mexico, we haven't done Norway, we haven't done Germany. I mean, there's a ton. Obviously, there are many nations on Earth. We did do Canada.
There are a lot of countries. We just found this out.
That's right. So, what would be the next one? What's the next one we should do?
Exactly. So keep that coming. Keep the feedback coming as well. Golden Spiral Media is also the fine folks who host this podcast. You can also always comment through there as well.
Right.
Okay, so that's all on tap. Also, save the date if you're in the Columbus, Ohio area, February the 10th. It's our Valentine edition of Fright Club Live. We're going to be back at the Gateway Film Center recording the podcast, talking about proms, dance horror, and showing the loved ones.
Woo!
you can bet that is going to be way up high on the countdown, fighting it out for a certain other movie you can probably guess for number one. So we'll see how it shakes out. Until then, keep the feedback coming.
I'm Hope Madden.
I'm George Wolf, and this is the Fright Club Podcast.
Stay frightful, my friends.
How you like me now?